You're watching TVCN. If you're a business or an individual, we want you to know we offer partnership and sponsorship opportunities. Contact us at the number below.
And welcome to another episode of the VIZION NOLA show. This is your host, Jose Garcia, with another wonderful episode. This week we have a great guest, and I'm just so pumped up because she's a great person, somebody that I met maybe a couple of years ago, and she's been involved with the community. And I think today you're gonna be so glad that you're gonna be meeting this person, and maybe you already met her, you've probably seen her, and she's involved in the community, very active with the community. She's been a great help, a big blessing to the city of New Orleans. So my pleasure to introduce you today to LINDSEY NAVARRO.
Hi.
How are you?
Great, I'm doing great. It's so exciting. It's so great to be with you here today.
Well, I'm excited too, and in my audience, we are streaming live every single Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Time here on tvnola.com. This is Television, so please share, the video, share this wonderful news that we're doing. Every single week we're coming with great people, leaders, from religious leaders to leaders in the city, that they're doing great and amazing things among the community. So today, we're just want to get to know a little bit about LINDSEY, because a lot of people just see you, they see you what you're doing on social media at different events, but they don't actually know who you are.
Yeah.
So I like to get to know a little bit more about you. Where you come from, were you born here, were you born in Central America,
Yeah.
South America, maybe in Europe, I don't know.
I wish.
So tell us a little bit. I know that your parents are from Panama. Is that correct?
Yeah, so both of my parents are from Panama. They moved here in the 70s to pursue education. My
wonderful.
dad came for his engineering degree, so he studied in Georgia, and then my mother moved down here to do her master's degree in the 70s, and they fell in love. They had known each other all their lives, and they fell in love here in the U.S. And so, they made their lives here. My dad worked in the sugarcane industry, designing a lot of the equipment for all of Central and South America.
Wow.
And which is kind of cool. I didn't really think much about it. I grew up in the factory most of the time, so I got used to the smell of the bagasse.
Wow.
But I was born here, and I have a little sister, so we were born and raised here in Houma, Louisiana.
Houma, Louisiana.
I'm a bayou girl.
Wow, so you were born in the bayou, eating crawfish, all the good
Crawfish,
stuff,
blue
gumbo.
crabs. I love to hunt. I love to fish. I like to be outdoors. I like crawfish boils. You say crawfish, I say yes, I'll be there.
Wow.
Just an invite with crawfish gets me there. I love oysters. So, I love to eat. I love New Orleans culture. I like Southern culture as well. And this is just this is home for me.
Wow. So when you were growing up, how do you manage, when you see all these Cajun people in Houma, and then, did they see you are you from here, or are you from somewhere else? How do you manage that?
This is a really interesting question. I was talking about it today with somebody else. So we were one of 3 Latino families at the Catholic school that I went to.
Wow.
So I hadn't seen another brown child until I got to 3rd grade.
Oh, wow.
I didn't really think I was different. I thought I was just like everybody else. It's just my friends were going to Panama, Florida for vacations, and I was going to Panama, Central America. So to me, I didn't really think I was different, and I don't think I really fell into my culture until maybe college, when I realized that there were, or maybe later in high school, when I just realized that I knew what Cuban food was, or I loved Central American food, and so for that, and I love to dance. Me encanta. My family, we're salseros. We love to dance salsa, merengue, bachata, and we just really love life. And so I don't think I really fell into my Latinidad until I got to college. Yeah.
So did your parents teach you Spanish, or how do you learn the Spanish?
Yeah, so we always had a nanny, and the nanny usually spoke Spanish. So we had a nanny who moved in with us from Panama.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and she lived with us until we were 7th or 8th grade, until I was in 7th or 8th grade, until I could really take care of myself and not light things on fire in the oven kind of thing. But we used to spend our summers in Panama. And so my parents, the second, the bell rang on the last day of school in May, they would the next day pack our bags, and my dad would take a trip to Panama, and he would leave the two of us in Panama. So our entire family is there. My grandparents,
Wow.
my dad's family, he's one of 7. And so we would spend the entire summer with our grandparents. And usually we came back not speaking English. We were only speaking Spanish. And but yeah, so we were out there for 2 or 3 months out of the year every year, until maybe like later in high school.
So now Spanish was taught at home, or?
It was taught in the home. For the most part, we really spoke more English than Spanish. We only spoke Spanish when we were in the grocery store and didn't want other people to hear what we were talking about or saying.
That is clever.
Yeah. So when we were having secret conversations, they were in Spanish, but usually in the home it was English, just because, we were working on homework together, social studies, history, like all of those lessons are taught in English. They're not really taught in Spanish.
Wow.
So the Spanish I got was most of the time, was usually in the summertime with my grandparents.
Wow. So whenever you went to Panama, how did you kind of saw both places? Because there's a big difference between United States and going back to Central America. Even though Panama is a little bit Americanized, I would say.
It is a little more Americanized. But my dad's family was from my mom's side of the family were from the haves, and my dad's side of the family were from the have-nots. And so we really got to experience what poverty to an extent was. So my parents, or my grandma, my dad's side of the family, he was one of 7, and his mother sold the lottery to keep the family afloat.
Wow.
And so their house is a very simple house with techo de zinc, right? It's like a zinc roof. They have cement floors, not because they're in style, but because it's just what was there.
Right.
And they put a bathroom in the house when I was born, because my mom said, I'm not going to send my child to a house that doesn't have a bathroom inside. So, we were in the summer times, and I think there's something to be said about experiencing that level of, I guess, discomfort to an extent that you just get comfortable with. So, to me, we would bathe in like the rain barrels, and that were full of water, because in the middle of the day, depending on where you were in the town, by the middle of the day, you didn't get water inside the house. So it's like you either bathed at 6 a.m. before the sun rose, or like at nighttime.
Right.
And so middle of the day, you hardly had a stream to wash the dishes. So, we were bathing in rain barrels, and it wasn't bad. It was great,
Right.
and I think it gives you a different perspective on it makes you a lot more grateful for the things that
Right.
we
Appreciate
have.
what you have with what we have here.
Yeah.
So were there a good moment that you can remember, one memorable moment that you can remember, like you have cherished for your entire life?
I don't know. I have so many memories in Panama. When we were little, my grandfather and grandma had a finca. They had like a little farm, and they would take us to pick the fruit on the weekends, and to clean the farm. And spending that time with them was fantastic. And I used to work with my grandmother in her business, and I would work with her through till like midnight counting money. So where I got my work ethic from, and probably that also that customer service and salesmanship, actually came from a lot of that time spent with my grandparents.
Wow.
And so for me, those are moments that I cherish. I love my grandparents more than anything, more so my grandmother than my grandfather. But she was, I think, what inspired me. And she didn't have much of I think she had like a high school degree, and for her, she really believed in education, and she always pushed my mother to get educated, and so she pushed me as well. She hoped that I would be a doctor or an attorney at one point, and neither happened, but I think she's really proud to see how far I've come and the things that I'm doing. So
That's wonderful.
yeah.
That's wonderful. So okay, so you grew up in Homa, and you went to high school there.
Yeah.
And then where did you go to college?
Yeah, so I went to Vanderbilt Catholic in Homa, so go VCH, I'm a Vandy Candy. And then I went to school at Loyola. And I started at Loyola right before Hurricane Katrina. I was there, I guess, in 2003. And when Katrina hit, I was in one of those apartments uptown, and we lost everything. So the apartment was underwater, essentially. And so I moved to New Jersey. So when Hurricane Katrina happened, there were Loyola had 26 sister schools, so 26 Ignatian colleges or Jesuit colleges around the nation. And so we were able to transfer any of the credits that we had here to any one of those universities. And then you had the option to come back if you wanted to. So I was studying criminal justice at the time, and when we looked at the schools with criminal justice programs, there were only 6. And then from there, it was like, okay, well, who do we have family, like where do we have family in the US that you can go to in case I got homesick? So I ended up at St. Peter's College, which is now St. Peter's University in Jersey City. And I lived out there for 2 years, and I worked out there, and that was where I think I cut my teeth, where I really kind of sharpened a lot of my skill set. So I mean, there was a summer there where I had 3 jobs. You know, I worked in the DA's office, I worked at a law firm, I was bartending, I was working at Macy's, and I think it was all just to keep myself out of trouble. But you know, it was a lot of fun, and it was a learning experience. And the rhythm on the East Coast is very different. They tend to live to work as opposed to work to live kind of thing. And so it was fun for a while, and then I was just kind of like, okay, I think I need to be closer to home.
So you came back over here and then went to Loyola.
Yeah.
And got your master's in business.
Yeah, so I have a master's degree in business administration from Loyola University of New Orleans. There's some specialty in international marketing. I loved entrepreneurship. I took entrepreneurship classes, franchising classes. You know, I loved everything small business. And when I was at Loyola, I wanted to do small business consulting when I graduated. Wow. And I knew I wanted to work in the Latino community, but I just didn't. I was like, I had so many jobs, and I had so much experience in different things. It was really hard to say. I mean, you know, now looking back at it, it's like I'm positioned to be a consultant because I have experience in all of these industries. But at the time, I was like, who's going to hire me with my weird resume? And
you got a little bit of everything. You got a little gumbo in your resume.
I did. My resume was just everywhere. And you know, one of the first jobs I applied for, there were 2 jobs I applied for. One was at a marketing firm that I'm really glad they didn't give me the position. Not that I don't love marketing. I do love marketing, but they said it when they interviewed me. They were like, you have a little too much personality for our firm. And I was like, what does that even mean?
Never heard that before.
I know, right? And I think it was just because their firm was more, it was more research based, and they knew that I was going to be behind a computer as opposed to in front of people.
Okay.
And then the second job I applied for was with Acción. And Acción is this, and I don't know if you know about Acción, but it's this micro lender. So they launched over 25 years ago. And Acción International, it was like an extension of Acción International. And Acción International started in Central and South America with peer-to-peer lending. And so usually in the, you know, small like tanda circles, like little lending circles, and then they took that idea from Central and South America and moved it to the US. Wow. And so they launched 5 organizations here in the US. And so I got hired on to Acción, the team out of Acción, Texas. And Acción, Texas grew to be one of the fastest in the nation. Wow. I mean, one of the largest in the nation. And so when I started, they had just moved into Louisiana. And then a year later, they opened into 8 other states. And then 2 years later, they moved into 14 states. So we were just right at this point of growth. And I was the first bilingual employee outside of the state of Texas. And then so, of course, I was like, I want to work with the Latino community. And I just saw so much opportunity here. And being an alternative lender, there were just the very limited financial tools and support for the Latino community. And at that time, they had this product for immigrants with ITIN numbers. And I was like, well, there's been this huge influx of Latinos, you know, with ITIN numbers here in New Orleans. We need to support them. We need to support this growing community of entrepreneurs. And so that's essentially what I did. And, you know, I was gung-ho about serving the Latino community. And it took me about 10 months to make my first loan.
Wow.
So you can imagine the stress that I was under, because in finance, your goal is to make loans.
Correct.
And so it doesn't matter how many people you touch, if you can't close something.
Correct. Yeah.
It's just like
it's not happening.
Right. So it took me about 10 months to make my first loan. It was a lady by the name of Ofelia Posas. And she still to this day is one of my customers. I actually met with her a couple of weeks ago.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, and I mean, and then she brought in her son, and we made a small business loan for her son. And her son was just starting a construction company, and he was just laying foundations, like cement foundations. Ironically, out in like Houma, Thibodaux area. And now, I mean, I think I just saw, he's like working in some really big developments out in South Louisiana.
So you never know who you're gonna...
You have no idea who you're going to help.
Wow.
I mean, you really don't. And I mean, sometimes, you know, people benefit from the funding that you give them, and sometimes they don't make the most out of it. They don't have a plan for it. And I mean, I think what started to happen was this position that I took was here local, and at one point I got outsourced to the New York office. And so I worked on this business pitch competition nationally. And so I had the opportunity to travel, which at the time I didn't think too much of. I was overwhelmed because every month I was in a different city. But I got to work in, you know, with the community in New York and to see what it was like to work with the small business development centers out there. You know, I got to fly out to Los Angeles. I got to fly to 3 cities in Texas.
Wow.
And that was when I realized, you know, being the face of this, it was this pitch competition. It was called the La Idea competition, and the mission was to connect Latino business owners here in the US with their counterparts in Latin America. So the idea was if you lived here and you wanted to export or import something from Central or South America, this pitch competition could help propel you into doing that. And so, so I traveled the U.S. talking about it. I mean, the partners on the program were like USAID, OPIC, the State Department. I mean, really big 4-letter acronyms.
See, these things I never knew about you.
No, well, I'm in my 20s, and I'm like, I don't know, like I don't really think anything of it, you know. And I mean, I got to travel the U.S. and I was the face of this pitch competition, and I did countless interviews on VIZION, and that was really where I started. I think where I started to kind of made me develop a different skill set that I really enjoyed and appreciated,
right.
Or that I kind of had a knack for. And so I did that for about 10 months, and then from there I moved back to the regular Acción and just making those small business loans. And Acción is now Lift Fund, and from there they left the network, and there were some changes in the work we were doing. So we moved from doing business education and these small business loans into just doing business loans, and we got some money from Sam's Club and from the National Foundation, like from not Sam's Club, but from the Walton Foundation, essentially, out of Arkansas, and to make loans to Latino entrepreneurs. And so that was where I really started to hone in on community building and community development.
Wonderful. That's what I wanted to get, and because you're so involved with the community, and like I say, a lot of people right now, they'll be watching you, be seeing you very actively on social media, and I want our people, our audience to know exactly what you're doing right now, because what you're doing right now, I don't think anybody else is doing it at that level. Yeah, there are other organizations doing it, don't get me wrong, there are plenty out there, but the level that you're bringing your organization is just reaching thousands and thousands of people. And I think the model, I heard that this model is somewhere else, I don't know, or this is your very own model.
Well, so
then we're gonna get to talk about El Centro, but I wanna bring us like how or when did you know that you were made or you were born, or God put you on this earth just to help the community? Because not everybody, I'm telling you, because I love the community. I like, and what I'm doing here, I'm doing it for the community. And I like to partner. I like to be sponsored to a lot of organizations, and I'm one of your sponsors as well. But the level of commitment that you have to our community is just so overwhelming. It's big, but at the same time, you know, it's something that I like people to admire, like the way I do to you. I admire what you're doing, and I just gotta, you know, give you a big applause of what you're doing. And I know that a lot of people are gonna be following your footsteps.
Yeah.
So tell me how you became so involved in such a passion for community.
Yeah, so I don't know. I can't really tell you where that started. I don't know what sets it off. I think I think that traveling that I did and seeing what was available nationally gave me a different perspective as far as what the needs were in the Latino community.
Did you see a lot of struggle in people?
I mean, what was crazy was traveling to New York or to Los Angeles and realizing that there were only 3 bilingual representatives for these massive metro areas supporting the fastest growing demographic, like in the United States. So, and not only are we the fastest growing, right? We're the fastest growing minority. We're the fastest growing minority. We're twice as likely to open small businesses, Latinos in general, immigrants as well. And then, I mean, we're like the pace of the way we open businesses is 15 times the national average, just based on statistics from the past 10 years.
So by you seeing all this need, all this struggle that all these business owners, the people that want to actually get to open a business, you saw that they had limitations.
Well, and their biggest complaint is access to information in Spanish and then access to the resources or like access to financing. So if I was providing financing and I felt like we were doing a really great job, and I still think that the organization that Live Fund and Acción are doing an amazing job.
Right.
But
they were providing mostly the finances.
They were providing the finances, and to an extent, as a loan officer, you could coach and guide people, but it just wasn't the same as being able to dedicate. It wasn't the same as being able to dedicate time to sit down with someone and say, "You're taking on a $15,000 loan. Let's make a plan for repaying this. Let's talk about how you're going to spend every cent, and talk about how you're going to like grow your business."
Right, structure, marketing,
all of those things.
All of the above.
Right.
So now that's where El Centro came to the idea.
Yeah, I mean, so I had participated in this national leadership program in 2015, where they elected or they chose. It's this. It's called, the organization's called NALCAB, and it's a national network of Latino community development organizations. And so they select 15 to 16 young professionals every year to go through this 9-month program. And so you travel the United States, you meet with the different partners, and you get to hear about what's going on in these other cities. And a lot of the organizations are doing really great work. But I was like, but there's no one really doing it in South Louisiana.
Right.
And some of the resource partners and the community partners that we were connecting to were more focused on the community service side and on providing like the basic services, and financial literacy wasn't necessarily their strong suit.
Right.
So they were partnering with us, or with me really, to be able to meet that gap, to do that. And so it's like, you train enough people on how to teach financial literacy, everyone starts doing it, and then I realized like, hey, I need to be doing this here. Like, why am I not doing this here? And you know, my dad always asked, he was like, you've got all this education and you're just gonna go into this nonprofit, and what are you doing? And it's just, you know, he always asked, you know, when you get the Jesuit education, it's about gaining the right tool set, but then it's also about changing the world around you. And so you are given all of these gifts, these talents, this knowledge that if you hold on to and you never share with the world, like, you can only change yourself. You're not going to change the world around you.
Right.
And so, to me, it was just a no-brainer. I wanted to do small business consulting. I realized there needed to be an organization, you know, that was serving the Latino community and providing this basic service to folks. That, I mean.
So what is the El Centro, and where does it focus? Do you have a mission statement that you can give us?
Yeah, so El Centro is a 501c3. We were founded in August or really June of 2018. Our mission is to provide financial literacy and business education training to the Latino community. It's really to empower the community with financial literacy, which can be in multiple forms. So right now we're currently focused on doing workshops. So we do a series of 2-hour workshops every second and fourth Tuesday of the month, and we host them at Delgado. And those topics can range from the basics of budgeting and building a personal budget to understanding your credit history. Wow. We teach people to read their credit reports, which a lot of folks don't know. We also talk about what the basic steps, like what the steps are to launching a business. So how to legally register your business. What are the implications of having to pay taxes all of a sudden? Right. And then we also talk about like how to build a budget, like a startup budget for your business, which is key because a lot of folks are like, hey, I have this great widget or product to sell and I have no plan for getting it to market or how I'm really going to make money doing it. So when we sit down with them and we actually build out like a little spreadsheet of what that costing looks like. The first class we did it with an ice cream shop, and luckily we had someone who had worked in an ice cream shop.
Wow.
And I think that class, you know, it's supposed to be a 2-hour workshop. It lasted 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
They didn't want to leave. And so we do that. We do some marketing workshops as well. We just did a 2-part series on how to use social media for your small business. And all of the workshops we do are in Spanish.
So you think El Centro is kind of going towards where you're infusing some type of culture within the culture?
Well, yeah. So I mean, the idea is that we want to provide culturally competent training.
Right.
It's also one thing. There's a difference between translating and transcreating. So we have worked with folks like my mom's group of Leer y Comer, which is like her book club, has actually edited my entire website to make sure that like the content is proper. We have a team of folks, volunteers who just kind of come in and review all of the stuff, all the material we're putting together. So we have that bi-weekly series. We also do one-on-one coaching with folks. So a business owner can reserve a one-on-one with us and spend an hour with me to talk about whatever goals they have. Sometimes it's about how can I access capital, and it's like, well, when was the last time you filed your taxes? Because that's something you're going to have to do first.
Correct.
So we talk through what those steps are, and we really set up a path.
You're doing this on a full-time basis?
I'm doing this, yes. I'm doing this on a full-time basis. I launched in August of 2018, and in October I went full-time.
Wow.
Because I was starting to gray, like my hairs were getting gray.
My next question is, how do you support yourself financially? Because, you know, our people, the audiences might be thinking, okay, she's got a lot of money. You know, if she can do this full time, and she's doing all these programs, all these workshops and everything, you got an office, you're doing all of these things. So how does El Centro get funded?
Yeah, so some of it is partnership building, some of it is what we call in-kind donations and in-kind contributions, which is that's kind of what
because for what I understand, you don't charge anything to.
No, we're not charging. We're not charging. We received funding. Our seed funding came from the Mexican consulate.
Okay.
So they gave us a small grant to launch. They also gave us additional funding this past year to continue our programming. On the side, I do some consulting work separately where I'm hired as a consultant and I spend like maybe 5 hours a month doing that. And that's essentially what pays my student loan debt. My husband and I, about 5 years ago, he said he's always known that I wanted to do something like this. He knew he had more vision than I did, I guess, and more forethought, and we positioned ourselves financially to be able to take this on. So, you know, we live in
sort of the finances you and your husband have provided to launch these.
Right, correct. So, I mean, you know, it's like we have a triplex, and so we essentially are subsidizing our own mortgage with the income from our 2 units that we have downstairs. But that is just to cover like our basic expenses, right? So the organization in and of itself, we're currently fundraising. We're looking for sponsors. We're working with, we have grant requests out to various foundations here in the city. And so we're looking for partners in the community who are willing to give.
This is wonderful. There is an information down below. There's an address, but also a phone number, including the website, which is
LA.org.
LA.org. You can go there, you can call that phone number that is on the screen, and you can just become a sponsor. You know, you say, well, I'm not rich, you know, I don't have $100,000 to give. Guess what? $10, $20, $15, maybe $50 a month can help out, you know, somebody.
Oh, yeah.
So I believe, you know, that many things can be done by just giving a few little dollars here and there. There might be a doctor watching right now. It might be somebody that say, hey, you know, I have this money. I don't know what to do with it. Guess what? This is a wonderful opportunity for you to partner and then give towards, because this is 501c3 organization that you can get a tax deduction receipt.
Yeah, tax deduction receipt. I mean, we're happy to add your logo to our website. If you want to sponsor, not only are we doing these workshops and these one-on-ones, but we're also creating valuable content. So part of what we do is really empower the community with information. So yeah, we are looking at the census data. We are pulling numbers. Like, I know that there are 4 million Latino-owned businesses in the United States. There are 15,000 20,000 here in Louisiana. I can tell you 7 out of 10 Latinos have not completed the census. So the number of Latinos in the state, I think they're at about 190,000. Just in the metro area, you're looking at about 120,000. If you multiply that by the 7 who have not completed that census, the 7 out of 10, it'll kind of give you an idea of where the population actually is.
You know what she's talking about.
I did the research. I did the research when I was in graduate school.
Wow.
Because when I was in graduate school, I wanted to do small business consulting, and I had to understand the Latino community if I was going to serve it. And so, I mean, and you know, knowledge is power. What you don't know, I mean, so you have to know these things, and so we have to give those numbers, and we have to tell, you know, we empower the community with that. I mean, there are 15,000 Latino business owners in the state of Louisiana. Those are just the folks that are formally registered. I mean, I think 8,000 of those are in the greater New Orleans area, and then
Yes.
5,000 are women-owned businesses.
That is wonderful. Well, you just heard from the very own founder and executive director of El Centro, the Center, if you want to call it in English, but it's El Centro, okay? LINDSEY NAVARRO, she's a good person that I've been knowing you, I guess a little more closely for the last year, but I met you when you were with Lift Fund.
Yeah, way back when.
Back in the days, and along with Marina. Marina, you and Marina used to work together, but it's been such a great time, you know, to get to know you, and now, you know, being able to also be a sponsor to what you're doing, because I believe what you're doing, and it's a great thing that the Centro is doing. So there are many things happening. Like I said, there is that information down below. Again, you're gonna see that on the screen, and it's elcentrola.org. You can go there. You can get more information how you can become a partner. And also, if you know somebody that is Latino and that loves to start a business or anything like that, there are many workshops happening. Just check on that website and you'll see many things happening. Hey, we're out of time.
Aww.
But I'm going to tell you, you are coming back. We're going to bring her back because there's so much to talk, and we love to talk about some of those stories about people that you have helped in the last months and also years when you used to be with Live Fun and Acción. But we're just out of time, and thank you so much for coming, LINDSEY.
Thank you, Jose. I really appreciate it. I would definitely invite you guys to check out that website. On the last sheet, or the last tab, you'll see an option that says Impact, and you can actually see our annual report from 2018. So you'll have an idea of how many folks we've actually served, what our demographic or what the community looks like that we're actually serving. So if you're curious, I mean, we're a phone call away, and like I said, we're here to support the community and empower them with that financial literacy and business education training. And if you're an English speaker and you have a business and you need to know where those resource partners are, we're connected to the entire ecosystem. I mean, I've been doing this for 8 years for other people, you know, and now I'm really doing it for the community that I really care and want to see grow.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, LINDSEY. And we'll see you next time. And to our audience, we always pray for you that you may have not just spiritual blessings, but physical and material blessings. We will see you next week at the same time on tvnola.com at 7 p.m. with the VIZION NOLA Show. This is Jose Garcia again with the VIZION NOLA Show. Until next time, God bless you.
You're watching TVCN. If you're a business or an individual, we want you to know we offer partnership and sponsorship opportunities. Contact us at the number below.